Would the Breakaway finally get its chance in the Niçoise sun before the TT tomorrow, or would UAE and Tadej Pogačar or maybe another team have other ideas? This was the last road stage of this year's Tour de France, stage 20, very difficult stage, 4,500 metres of climbing across only 133 kilometres. The last climb, 16 Ks at about 7%. All the climbing is gradual, so not any steep, high-altitude gradients. Breakaway formation, it kicked off on the Col de Turini. You see Jorgensen jumping after Carapaz, and that's a problem for Derek G because Jorgensen's just behind him on GC, and so the top 10 battle really dictated break formation. You see Adam Yates is now in, so he's protected with Jorgensen in the breakaway or G and Ciccone, but the problem is Landa's in the breakaway. So with Landa in the breakaway in 5th, that means, and he's in here somewhere, just trust me, all blue jerseys, they need to change it. Almeida in 4th has to chase to protect his 4th position, so he chases Landa in that breakaway. So basically, UAE didn't want any of the top 10 GC guys in the break because that would make it an easier day to control. So guys like Kelderman, Bruno Armourel's kind of asking for permission to go across. That's all right. Enric Mas, when he jumps, he's way out of GC. That's fine. But when Jorgensen jumps 9th on GC, which then means that G jumps and Ciccone jumps, which means Adam Yates has to jump and chase behind, that's not allowed. And so they're brought back. A bit of control comes back at the end of Col de Turini. Half the peloton had been dropped. And Marc Soler, he's waving Carapaz through, come take the points. He's even saying to Jorgensen that, listen, he's just taking the KOM points, let him take it. And it sounds like payback for Carapaz freeloading in the breakaway. Yesterday, Jorgensen decides to sprint to take the solitary point remaining on the Category 2 behind Enrique Mas, Bruno Armourel and Wilco Kelderman. So break still hasn't really formed yet, and the rest of it forms on this descent, with Bardet, Champoussin, Tratnik going behind the 3 up front. There's other counter moves from Carapaz, Marc Soler, and when Soler's in, UAE are happy because he has a chance to fight for the stage win. Sturven, Geniets are also there. Controlled stage begins, but it takes a while on Turini, a 20k climb, for Bardet and Carapaz to get across to the group ahead. There was still a bit of games to get across. No one wants to work too much. Enric Mas is trying to keep it going because the gap isn't 8 minutes. It's 4:30 where UAE had pegged it, and then Quickstep begin to pace at the end of Turini, which is very, very bad news for the breakaway, and also signals that Remco Evenepoel wants to try something to get into second place on GC to test Jonas Vingegaard on Puyol. So the break, pretty dysfunctional. Carapaz taking short pulls. I think he played himself, frankly. Soler attacks on the end of Col Mien, far from the finish, but Ilan van Wilder is setting a huge tempo. It's under 3 minutes, the gap from the peloton to the breakaway, and it's not looking good for the break, particularly if we have one of these huge GC performances like we've been seeing the last few days, or last weekend in fact, and Jan Hirt ups the pace, launches it on Puyol, Kelderman and Mas are sort of going 1-2. Mas is trying to increase the pace. It's down to about 12 guys in the GC group. Mas and Carapaz are the best climbers. They go clear. They've got to work together. 2 minute gap, which was stalling actually with Jan here, a bit stalled. They had to work together for as long as possible with Hirt letting the gap go back out to over 2:30. It was looking better for them, but then Landa starts to shred. He's got Remco in the wheel. He's the last man for Remco. G dropped. Ciccone dropped. Even Adam Yates on a bit of a gap. So Jorgensen able to hang on. It's looking good for his GC position. Funny moment. Soler goes to give a bid on back to Pogačar. Vingegaard was kind of in between them, so he offers to give it back. Soler rips it out of his hand, says, no, not for you, for Pogačar. And Pogačar sees that, and then offers the bid on to Vingegaard, who was just trying to hand it back to Pogačar. So it's still a hot day, not 35 or 40, but over 30 degrees in the valleys, I think. So everyone trying to stay cool. And Carapaz attacks Enric Mas. They start going 1-2 with the gap at 1:22 when Remco launches it, but not on there's no real steep section on this climb. It's such a hard climb to get separation. The draft is so important on steady 6, 7, 7.5%. And Almeida sees an opportunity. Landa's just paced all out. He's on 5th on GC. Almeida thinks, I can put some more time into him before the TT tomorrow to shore up his 4th position. Remco goes again, this time a more concerted attack, changes gear. You can see how fast they're going on 7%, but unfortunately for him, he sits down and Vingegaard hits him with the counter punch and goes clear, making a statement that he may not be the best in this year's Tour de France, but he has been the 2nd best rider, and gaps Evenepoel and keeps riding. Pogačar doesn't relay with Vingegaard. There's still the breakaway up the road, so Vingegaard rides all out to keep Remco behind, and look how close they are. Look how close they are to Carapaz and Mas. And yet, I don't know if they didn't know the GC guys were there, Carapaz throws in a huge sprint. Like, this could have been the difference between him really contesting the final stage, because as I said, like, Carapaz and Mas have such a good level that if he hadn't done that huge sprint and then you get into the draft on 6%, like, look how long he hangs on for after he's just done all those bursts. He ends up costing himself. Now, is he beating Pogačar in the sprint? Probably not. 99% not. It looked like maybe Pogačar was just going to roll through on the front and let Vingegaard sprint for it, but in the end, he drops the hammer, winning his 5th stage at this year's Tour de France. Vingegaard about 6 seconds behind. Congratulations from Giannetti to Vingegaard, and if it was any more needed, Pogačar underlines who has been the best in this year's Tour de France, winning the stage ahead of Vingegaard, then Carapaz next. Evenepoel is about 46 seconds to 2nd place, then Marcel Almeida, Jorgensen, Landa, Yates, Bardet. Here's what Pogačar had to say after the stage.
Actually, I was really surprised how the race exploded on Col de Turini. One of my favorite climbs to train in this area. But our guys did super good job. We come all together to the top, to the bottom, to Sospel, and then Soler went to breakaway. That was good for us, and then we tried to take it easy as much as possible, to bring as much as possible guys to the final, just to have a group ride until the final climb. But yes, Soudal, they decided to try and take some time on Jonas, I guess, and or to win the stage, which was really was playing in hand for me.
It was a fantastic duel again with Jonas. It's also great to see a duel on an event like this one.
Yeah, especially I think he had some tough days now, and today he showed that it's not easy to crack, and that he's a real fighter. He gave everything today, and he did really good ride today, and was super strong.
In terms of GC, actually some pretty big changes, with Jorgensen moving over Derek G. Adam Yates 1 second ahead of Carlos Rodriguez. For the TT, I'd say both 6th and 8th. They should be able to keep those positions, but you never know. Huge stage tomorrow, particularly for the stage win up for grabs between the top 3 in this year's race. Hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you with the recap then. Ciao.